Hello and welcome. My name is Kubeir, and this is the Canadian Immigration Live Weekly Roundup that we do every Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, welcome to another episode of the Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup Live. As what we have been doing for so many weeks, every week, we will first go through a short presentation talking about different things that have happened in this particular week with regards to the Canadian immigration news updates. And then we will talk about few other things that are of interest or would be of interest to some of you. And from there on, then we move on to the final segment of this episode, which will be the question and answer. So if you have questions, hold on to them for this time until we finish this aspect of our weekly roundup, and then we will come to your question and answers. So moving on with our presentation, we will start with the quote of the week. Hope fills the holes of my frustration in my heart, said Emmanuel Cleaver, which is so true, right? As long as we have the hope, we keep the hope, we can sort of keep the frustration away, and that usually helps. And that's the reason why I remain forever hopeful. This is the Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup. You can join us or connect with us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Let's talk about the different Pnp draws that have happened between the 14th of March and 18th of March. Some of it were not covered in the last segment. So Alberta, as we all know, conducts their draws, but they don't publish until much later. So they have conducted a draw on the 8th of March, which is already now 2 weeks back. And they invited 350 express entry candidates to apply for the Alberta Express Entry stream, and the candidates needed a score of 318. Now, let me just remind people, a lot of you who always start wondering why did they not get invited if the score was only 318. Well, Alberta, historically, as we all know, has never ever published their demand list. They do have a list of NOC codes that they do not consider as priority. So those knock codes will typically not get invited. But for the remaining knock codes, again, it remains a mystery because Alberta never really announces. The only time we do come to know about their the draws and the kind of knock codes they've invited is because people would share that. But apart from that, Alberta doesn't announce their knock codes. And to apply for the Alberta Express Entry stream, candidates needed to have work experience in an eligible occupation. As I said, Alberta does not announce these occupation codes. British Columbia also held a draw on the 14th of March, but then, as I said, this is old one, and I'm not going to repeat this because we did cover this one for sure. Somebody's made a mistake on my presentation slide there. Prince Edward Islands on March 17, Prince Edward Islands, they conduct regular draws. They already have announced a schedule of their draws. So that schedule is available on their website. So they usually have one draw per month, and this month's draw was conducted on the 17th of March. British Columbia, British Columbia is a regular suspect. So they're always there on our weekly roundup. On the 22nd of March, which was this week, British Columbia has invited a total of 204 candidates to apply for the PNP. The majority of the sent through a general draw, and another draw also happened on the 22nd of March, where they issued 72 invitations, and this was specifically for the healthcare knock codes that they invited people in. And the minimum score, which is quite low, 63 is a very low score, but they did invite people ranging from scores between 63 and 78. Manitoba on the 10th of March conducted, that was quite some time back, but they invited 120 candidates to apply for provincial nominations, and skilled workers in Manitoba were 102 invitations given out with a score of 769. Skilled worker overseas were given 64 invitations with a minimum score of 712. And international education stream, as you would all know by now, 25 invitations, but there is no score required. So if you are eligible under the international education stream, you do receive your nomination without any specific score. Ontario, they did conduct a draw on the 24th of March, which was day before yesterday. This was for the skilled trade category. Now, with a skilled trade category, what happens is that if you are a skilled trade candidate and if you've had work experience in Ontario specifically, then you were considered eligible for this particular draw. 471 people were invited. Now, mind you, Ontario has a good thing going here for themselves because there has been no express entry federal skilled trade draw for a very, very, very long time. I think it's more than 2 years now that they haven't conducted a draw there. Now, in order to be eligible under the federal skilled trade category, your primary knock code would be, which is listed in the minor group 633. So basically, your knock code will start with 633, or in the major group, which is 72, 73, or 82, which basically means your knock code starts with the first two digits as 72 or 73 or 82. And that is when you would be eligible under this particular stream. Also, the requirement was that you have at least 1 year experience in Ontario, specifically in those trade categories. What is happening with the express entry? Well, Sean Fraser, in a recent interview, now this is already old news, but still a lot of people get quite anxious and quite excited about this, so we always bring that up. So Sean Fraser, in a recent interview, has said that they are looking to resume express entry draws for skilled workers in spring. Now, spring, we are already in the season of spring. This is already that part of the time, that period of the year, which we call spring, which is quite muddy and quite wet, but it's spring. And to be noted is that Ircc has not conducted any draws since December 2020. For federal skilled worker and for CEC, they haven't conducted draws since the 14th of September 2021. Now, I will show you this clip so you can hear it from the horse's mouth. Let me see if I can bring this up for you. I should be able to do it. Okay, let's see.
A lot of you have been commenting about the CEC draws and about postgraduate work permits. I don't like ignoring questions when people ask them. So look, I don't have a major announcement to make today. I did state recently that we're looking at doing our next draw on the Federal Skilled Workers Program in the near term. We're aiming for sometime this spring. We're trying to sort out certain details, and there's a lot of moving parts with different things we're responding to in the world. I also am alive to the fact that there's a huge number of people who've completed their studies and have a postgraduate work permit that is potentially on the verge of expiring. We're looking at different options right now to make sure that we don't lose out on talent. I don't want to see people who have a job, who are making a contribution, who want to stay, to leave at the same time that I'm trying to cure the labor shortage by embracing immigration. I can't be working against myself. We'll have much more to say about this in the weeks and months ahead.
Okay, all right. Apparently there is an echo. I'm going to sort this out and we will restart this so that we can all hear it clearly. Later on, I'm going to edit this. Sorry about the echo. I will do this again.
A lot of you have been commenting about the CEC draws and about postgraduate work permits. I don't like ignoring questions when people ask them. So look, I don't have a major announcement to make today. I did state recently that we're looking at doing our next draw on the Federal Skilled Workers Program in the near term. We're aiming for sometime this spring. We're trying to sort out certain details, and there's a lot of moving parts with different things we're responding to in the world. I also am alive to the fact that there's a huge number of people who've completed their studies and have a postgraduate work permit that is potentially on the verge of expiring. We're looking at different options right now to make sure that we don't lose out on talent. I don't want to see people who have a job, who are making a contribution, who want to stay, to leave at the same time that I'm trying to cure the labor shortage by embracing immigration. I can't be working against myself. We'll have much more to say about this in the weeks and months ahead, but I just wanted to make sure that people know that we're not ignoring your concerns.
All right, so I hope that portion of this clip was clearer. So that was our dear immigration minister who basically had that to say, and he is... Hold on. Oh, sorry about that. These things. Right. So this is what Sean Fraser had to say about the expected draws that may happen by spring. Now, also, if you were joining me last week for the weekly roundup, we did discuss. Let me just bring this here. So we did discuss this redacted memo of the 21st of January. If you haven't watched that last week's episode, then probably you may want to go and watch that. We did discuss the memo that was shared, which was dated 21st of Jan. And in that also IRCC had again proposed to the deputy minister to put a pause on the draws until end of March. So we are already at the end of the March, and they said that they would be presenting a new proposal, or they will be presenting a proposal as to how or when the draws should be conducted and what the timelines should be and what the whole plan should be in the month of March to the Deputy Immigration Minister. And I feel that when Sean Fraser is referring to the moving parts and he's referring to the spring, then he is probably referring also to the same plan, which would have already been presented to him, hopefully. And with that in view, spring, as I said, is already here, and it would go on until the end of probably April. I mean, sometimes April, sometimes May. Again, it's variable as to how you look at it. But yeah, that would be the spring, and fingers crossed. And let's see how the draws pan out on that one. In other news, what do we have? Well, Canada continues to break these records. I'm not sure whether we have to be happy about it or whether we should be, still getting frustrated about things in terms of the backlogs. But Canada did break an all-time record, which was set in 2019, when they have issued 450,000 new study permits. And this is a staggering number. The previous number was, or rather the previous big number was for the month of, for 2019, when they had issued nearly 400,000 study permits. And then for 2020, the 2020, the number really sort of took a nosedive, obviously because of the COVID pandemic. And now in 2021, they have again shot up and issued 450,000. That's a staggering number. Now, keep in mind, these are all prospective CEC or PNP applicants. So you can see, as we move forward, as we go forward in future, the competition is even going to go, it's going to get more and more dense there. It's going to get more challenging. It's going to get more difficult, even with CEC. So people who are within the CEC categories, people who are within the Canadian Experience Class categories, who are thinking, well, it's all easy. You come to Canada as a student, it's going to be easy. Well, this tells you that there is going to be a lot of competition ahead. 450,000 international students is a big number. Majority of them would want to make Canada their home. They would want to sort of settle down in Canada at some point of time. And with all these people, obviously, there will be a lot of pressure on CEC draws and also the PNP draws. Now, we all know PNPs already target people who are already inside Canada, living in their province, working in their province, who have studied in their province. There are so many provinces who give so many of these benefits or advantages to people who have been studying, working, living in their province. So these number of students, you can expect that this competition is going to heat up as we move forward. Something to look forward to there. Okay. Immigration backlog. Now that is another report that we wanted to talk about. Ircc has reported that there is 1.8 million people waiting on decisions in its inventory as of mid-March. The backlog has processed, mind you, of course, the backlog has processed, but since summer of last year, the numbers have changed. We have seen figures from July 6th, when it was only 1.4 million. October, it went up to 1.8 million. December, it stayed at 1.8. February, it stayed at 1.8. In March, now it has gone to 1.844, which basically means that while they are clearing out the applications, while PPRs for different application types are being issued, there has been more number of people who have also submitting applications, and therefore the backlogs have pretty much stayed the same. So we have been talking about this 1.8 million figure for a very long time, probably actually since October. That was the first time when this number was released, and we all had a shock of our lives when we saw 1.8 million as the backlog. But let's take a look as to what these numbers actually are. All right, there you go. The express entry inventory as of March 15 for federal skilled worker, that is where most of you are interested in express entry. The number of people who are in the backlog is 41,336, which basically means from February 1st, so in 45 days, Ircc, not 45, but roughly about 43 or 42 days, Ircc managed to clear 8,400 people. It's people, not applications. So please, always bear that in mind. Sometimes we tend to, mix up the number of applications and number of people, but here it is being referred to people. It basically means that if there are number of applications, it could have multiple people in the application itself. So partners or spouses with children could basically mean multiple people in the same application. So going by that, 41,336 is the inventory on March 15, which would roughly mean that there are about 25 to 30,000 applications in the backlog. This is quite quite a relief to see the number is now going smaller and smaller. That is what we were looking forward to. On the Canadian experience class front, well, the number of people is only at 10,368. The number has really come down. Going by that, and the fact that they have cleared 4,751 people within the last 45 days. If they go, or rather if they continue with that speed, you should have every single person cleared out within 2 to 3 months. That would be the expectation. That is the Canadian experience class, not the federal skilled worker. Federal skilled workers still has a bit of journey to make. So you're looking at roughly 5 months period. If they go with the same speed, they should have cleared everybody in that backlog. Now, this is federal skilled worker and this is CEC. This is not including the PNPs. Now, PNPs is a big group already by itself, because obviously the whole year of 2020, the whole year of 2021, the Pnp draws never stopped. They continued and they continue even now. So the provincial nominee applicants in the pool are at roughly 60. No, it's about 70. Yeah, roughly about 70,000 people there. But because this is an ongoing process, right? More people submit their applications. People are also receiving their passport requests. So it's an ongoing process. There is now a positive difference. So 2,529 more have been added to the pool in the backlog. But going by the numbers, going by the trends, what we have been witnessing, what we have been seeing over the last few weeks, passport requests have been trickling through, not with the same numbers that we wanted to see, or not the same numbers that we were seeing earlier. It sort of has slowed down teeny weeny bit. Not sure why that would be, but again, I'm sure IRCC is looking into sort of making that numbers go up at the earliest. Yes, New Delhi visa office also has sort of slowed down versus should have, I was expecting to see more numbers coming through the New Delhi visa office. They seem to have slowed down a bit. Not sure why that is happening, but we do know that New Delhi visa office is now in full force. All staff have reported and they're all working back there. So expected. The understanding is also for the other major offices, major visa offices, all the staff are now back and they're all reported back to their offices, and they should all be now generating PPRs quickly. But keep in mind that the PPRs are always not restricted only to the immigration applications, only to the PR applications. There is also spousal sponsorship applications. There is obviously also the refugee status, which is happening in Ukraine at this point of time. There are also TRV applications, which are at this point of time in a huge backlog. Let's take a look at the TRV number. Yes. TRV numbers are here. The study permit applications are always an ongoing process, and that also brings the TRVs, the temporary residence visa, the visit visa applications. You can see there's a huge number, 400,000 applications in the backlog. That is also an ongoing process. So the PPRs are not restricted only to PR applications, not only restricted to express entry applications. They are also for the other aspects of your work permits, spouse open work permits, visit visas, study permit applications as well. We are now beginning to see some movement in the work permit applications, though not as much as I would have wanted to see, because there are plenty of people with spouse open work permits who are still waiting for the result. It has been more than a year, actually 13, 14, 15 months at this point of time for so many applications. So fingers crossed to see that those applications coming through. But to sort of bring perspective back here, this is what we are referring to, the immigration backlogs. So 1.84 million people are still waiting for the decisions as of mid-March, as per the numbers that I just showed you. Well, that's all that I had for the presentation today. Okay, apparently it is blurred. Okay, we will try and get those numbers out in a different screenshots later on. Anyways, so you can connect with us through Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, of course. We also have Twitter. And yeah, and if you're still not following us on Instagram, then well, that is the link. Please do join us there. And obviously don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you're watching, then please smash that half like or the like button so that more people get access to this video. Now, I do have a few other things that I wanted to talk to you about. Let me get this away from my screen so I can show you what. Well, I have some concerning matters to discuss today as well. And just trying to find what I was looking for. I'm not able to bring it up. Just give me one moment till I figure out where that has gone. I'm going to talk to you about misrepresentation. There is something on your screen, but it's not clear. So I'm just trying to get a clearer copy there. Just give me one moment till I bring that up. Yes, here it is. This is a much more clearer copy. Okay, so this is what I want to talk to you about is misrepresentations. I'm talking to you about procedural fairness letters that have been sent out in hundreds over the last week. And this is going out to the international student community. Now, what is happening is, and as I scroll down, the problem is that a lot of you are using the so-called immigration consultants who are really not consultants, but simply agents or people who are providing, or rather should be providing, only education or facility, or rather helping you or facilitating your education to the colleges, but they are going ahead and they are submitting your applications as well. They cannot do that. Agents or the education agents that most of them probably they spread across everywhere, right? So they're spread across India, they're spread across Middle East, they're in Dubai, they're everywhere, and they are not licensed. They are not legally allowed to submit an application on your behalf, but they do it anyways. So what has happened now is IRCC, with the use of their artificial intelligence, is now able to identify multiple applications being submitted from the same location, and they have identified that these are possibly illegal agents who have not been disclosed in the applications, and people have been receiving these PFLs. I have highlighted this here, and if you can see this paragraph, it says, specifically, I have concerns that you have withheld material information in your application, which may make you inadmissible for misrepresentation. Specifically, you were sent a letter on so-and-so days requesting you to confirm whether you have used a designated individual or representative, and for you to provide a 5476 form. In your response, you did not declare the use of any representative. Your application, however, reflects that on the balance of probabilities, you did use or you are using a representative. This is important because it diminishes the overall credibility of your application and the credibility of the information provided. Therefore, it will impact your eligibility into the study program. Now, as I said, this is very, very serious. So what's going to happen now here is these agents, these consultants are not even informing the students about this. Now, this particular PFL that I'm showing to you, it was shared by one of the candidates who have received the PFL, and the agent has simply just raised their hands and said, listen, go and deal with it yourself. We can't help you with this. What is a student going to do in such a situation, right? So there is obviously no apologizing. You cannot go back to IRCC and say, listen, I'm sorry, I did not know whether that agent or that consultant was licensed or not. There is that kind of answer is usually not acceptable. Even if you were to challenge it in the federal court, it is considered as your mistake. You should be knowing what is going on in your application. You cannot simply say that the consultant did what they were going to do and you have no clue what was happening with your application. It is not acceptable. So the result for something like this, when you use an illegal agent, illegal consultant, is that your application definitely is going to be refused. You will also be given a ban of 5 years, because that is what you get for misrepresentation. This is again what is on your screen. This is what you will get, 5 years misrepresentation ban. And obviously with this ban, you will not be able to apply again to Canada. That's number one. And the chances are, because it will remain in your immigration record and the fact that this information is shared with other countries as well, you will also have difficulty getting a visa to a different country, which basically shares information with Canada. Now, this was one PFL. And then the next one that I want to share with you is also, again, because of using these kind of consultants. In this case, what has happened is, specifically, I have concerns that you may be inadmissible for misrepresentation. Why? Because I've redacted the bank's name. The bank statement that you have submitted in support of your application was verified and confirmed to be fraudulent. So what has happened is, here the student has basically trusted the education agent or consultant to submit their application. They have trusted them with the file, with the documents, and the agent, in their better wisdom, that you would want to call it, in a very sarcastic manner, they have used a fraudulent or a fake or a photoshopped bank statement on behalf of the student and submitted that. And IRCC has verified it with the bank and found out that that statement, or the bank statement, is forged, it's fraudulent. And now with this forgery, with this fraudulence, this student is going to get a ban of 5 years. Okay. And because, again, there is no appealing this, there is no explain. How do you explain this? How do you tell IRCC, oops, I'm sorry, I gave you a fake bank statement? I mean, how do you justify that? How do you explain that? There is no getting out of this. This is where everything is lost. Okay. And these are students who probably didn't even know what is happening with their application. These are students who probably didn't even know better. And now, because of this mess, they again would get banned for 5 years, and probably are going to face difficulty getting visas again to, or rather temporary visas to, most of the countries, including Canada, US, Australia, etc. as well. So do you understand that these things that you're doing using these agents and consultants who basically do not understand what is going on? They don't understand the technicalities. They don't understand that by using these fake documents, they are jeopardizing your application, jeopardizing your future, and yet, they continue to do it because it doesn't make any difference to them. Now, when I was discussing this situation with the student, and they said, well, they assumed that the consultant is licensed. That's what they thought. And that the consultant has such a good track record, they assumed that the consultant knew better. Well, as far as the track record is concerned, let me just explain that to you. No consultant or no agent or no lawyer is going to talk about their refusals. Okay. Or rather, most of them will not advertise about their, everybody comes and says, this student, we got this student the approval, we got this student the approval, these many students, these many passports, we have got all of them approvals, come to us, we know how to get this done. Nobody shows you the refusals. Nobody talks to you about this mess that they have created for their students, right? So what happens is, it's a law of averages. Let me explain that to you. If you submit 100 applications, 50, even if you go with a basic average of 50-50, 50 will get approved, not because you as an agent or a consultant did anything miraculous or brilliant in that, just simply because by law of averages, 50 profiles are going to be good enough to get through the whole process, and they would get their study permit. But you as an agent are now broadcasting this, advertising this, marketing this, trying to show the whole world, listen, I got 50 students their approval. While you're not telling the people is that you have 50 students who did not get through, and they probably are now also got a PFL, they're also got refusals, they also got misrepresentation bans, all because you did what you had to do. So taking the credit for the profile of the student, that doesn't make sense, right? But people get fooled. And as we keep saying, jago grahak jago, or be smart, be a smart customer. I mean, people research so much when they're buying a mobile phone, when they're buying a television, when they want to sort of, buy a sofa in their house, or they want to do this basic, you have cough and you go into Google and you try to figure out why you have cough, and you sort of, try to self-medicate. But when you're trying to do such an important aspect for your life, when you're trying to sort of file a PR application, when you're trying to file a study permit application, you don't basically do this basic research, which is going to have such a severe impact in your future. Yeah, I mean, it's sad, but that is the reality. Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about, the situation in terms of misrepresentations. I'm just sort of clearing out my screen. What else have I got? I've already spoken to you about the backlogs. I have spoken to you about the misrepresentation. I've shown you Sean Fraser's video. Yes, one more thing. Effective 1st of April, that's another news I wanted to share with you. Effective 1st of April, there is no requirement of pre-departure COVID test for Canada. Okay, if you are fully vaccinated. So for anybody who's fully vaccinated, there is no required for any RT-PCR. There is no requirement for any antigen, negative antigen test. So if you're coming to Canada, 1st of April onwards, no COVID test required if you are fully vaccinated. That is the basic requirement. So hurrah, finally, we have that requirement gone, and we can basically save some money there and travel without any headache, as long as you are fully vaccinated, of course. For most of you who do not know, Canada is now at this point of time has basically dropped most COVID related restrictions. Ontario, Alberta, Saskatchewan. I don't know. I'm not keeping in touch with Saskatchewan as much, but most of the provinces have dropped the mask, even have dropped the mask mandate. Ontario doesn't need you to wear any masks in public or in enclosed spaces. You can if you wish to, but in most places you don't need to. Only very certain few settings you need to wear your masks. But by and large, that's it. There is no requirement to wear masks at all. And that is pretty much it from my side in terms of updating you or giving you what has been happening in the Canadian immigration world for the last week. If you're still here and if you're still watching, then give us a thumbs up. And do please, once again, where is that? Subscribe to the channel. I want to see those numbers going up because the numbers are dipping. I want to see those numbers going up. And if you're still here, do hit the like button. If you're in Dubai, I hope you have registered and you have got your tickets. So when I'm saying got your tickets, it's a free. So what I'm talking about is we have a free seminar tomorrow in Dubai. It's 5 to 8 where me live in person. We will be talking about 3 things. Is Canadian dream still alive? Is that dream still, valid? Number 1, we'll be talking about is it easy? Is it easy? Is it easy to migrate to Canada? Just the way all these advertisements and marketing material make it out to be. All these sign up with us and within 6 months you will become a permanent resident. You get those SMSs and text messages and all those. You've seen those marketing material, right? So that's the second. And the third thing that we'll be talking about is it worth immigrating to Canada? Okay, so these are the 3 factors that we will be talking about in our seminar tomorrow, which is from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. in Dubai, and we would be looking to welcome about 200 people. We've had tremendous response. We had more than 600 people who registered, and to them I apologize because we didn't expect that kind of a response. And then we had to open up the tickets. And again, this was free. When I'm saying tickets, is basically for people who registered, they could have some sort of a document which we could then check in with. So if you're there, I'll be happy to see you tomorrow. That would be exciting. We haven't done this in a long time because of COVID, and I'm glad that we're going to be doing it again. It's so much interesting to do this in person. So that's tomorrow. So if you're in Dubai, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. And that's it from me. Go ahead. Let's hear your questions, and then we can get on with that aspect now. Okay, Shikhar says, hope you're doing well. Why is there still no update on CEC draws? There hasn't even been PGWP extensions either. What are they waiting for? Well, they are waiting for, I would have said Christmas, but no, they're waiting for spring, apparently. That is what Sean Fraser said in his most recent release that he had, an exchange that he had, that they have some small moving parts and that they're working out and they would have some announcements to make in spring. Yes, we are already in the month of spring, but we don't have the exact date. He has also on a number of occasions mentioned that they are looking at ways that they can extend to applicants who are inside Canada whose status has either expired or expiring, as to what provisions that they can create or generate for them. So, well, keep your ears to the ground. We hope to see some information coming through pretty quick. Why files are transferred to Winnipeg? Well, that is happening because they want to do some workload distribution. Therefore, they're transferring files to Winnipeg. Usually, Winnipeg does not handle PR applications. But because of the tremendous backlogs which they are now having to take care of, they have been redistributing the workloads in different visa offices. So that's the reason that's happening. What is the best option to take your funds to Canada when traveling for the first time? Well, you could carry a banker's check, you could carry a draft, you could carry cash. Again, a lot of people are confused. You can carry any amount of cash. There is no restriction whatsoever. If you are carrying 10,000 Canadian dollars or more, then you must disclose it to the border officer. That's the only requirement. Obviously, they might want to know where did you get the funds from and do you have official receipt from wherever you got that. Apart from that, it's not a problem. You can carry truckloads of money in cash if you wish to. It's always the most convenient option. With take from and carry cash from here, go and deposit it in the bank over there, and that's about it. But other options would be I don't know, once you get to Canada, open a bank account, and then through your online access to your bank account in whichever country you are in, do a bank transfer, do a wire transfer to that account. So in today's day and time, I mean, this is so easy anyways, right? So it doesn't really matter. Any chances with 475 in express entry? Well, at this point of time, it is looking extremely, I won't say not possible. I would say we'll have to wait and watch, okay, before I say something stupid. The reason for that is, first, the draws haven't happened, so we do not know when the draws will start. Second, we do not know what will be the draw size. We do not know if they will be conducting federal skilled worker or CEC together as an all program draws, or whether they will be segregating them again. There is so much of unknown. There is so much of uncertainty. Under normal circumstances, 475 is a good score. But yeah, it's going to take a bit of drubbing to get there, because a lot will also depend on how many new people are entering the pool or how many people are upgrading their scores to come to this level. So we have to wait and watch. We have to see when the draws will resume, when the draws will start, and from there on, what kind of draw size or other IETAs that are issued in each draw. That would help us understand this better. Okay. What is the processing time for the global skills stream? Well, it was expected to be 2 to 3 weeks. At this point of time, it's out of the window to be, I mean, unfortunately, it's out of the window. It also depends what is happening with the Edmonton visa office. That is where most of the GSS files would be processed, and can't say. Processing time, I really can't say. It also depends on which where you are applying from. From the US, I am seeing from some of our clients, we have got their approvals within, I think the last one I saw was about 45 to 60 days. But from India, it's ridiculous. From India, it's, I mean, I don't even want to sort of give a number there, because it really is really bad. Is this possible for those who are working in seasonal job to apply to a permanent resident, like in a lobster shop? Is there a program for us to get PR? Ooh, great question. In most cases, because the requirement is for you to have a full-time continuous work experience, it's very difficult to sort of apply to a stream. However, if you are able to get a job offer, okay, then depending on the stream that you get a job offer in, there may be a possibility. However, in most immigration streams, the requirement is for you to secure a job offer for a non-seasonal full-time job offer. So that basically is the biggest hurdle. On top of my head, I can't think of any immigration stream which would allow seasonal work to get through to permanent residents. Something we need to sort of look at. But it's a good question. I mean, but I don't know, on top of my head, I can't sort of give you a stream and say this particular stream. If you're into the lobsters, then obviously Atlantic provinces are the best. But you should have some continuous work experience to be eligible, and you should be able to secure a full-time job offer in order to get eligible for the permanent residence. FSWO informed IRCC about updated marital status, got ADR in December, ADR 27 Jan, got spouse UCI, but haven't got biometric request. Is this normal? Yes, it is absolutely normal towards the end when they're finalizing the processing, when they have to complete the criminality check for your spouse and the security check for your spouse, you would get the request for your biometrics. So yeah, absolutely normal. Why is IRCC not picking file in sequence? Well, they do pick files in sequence until the R10 completeness check. From the R10 completeness check, it goes basically into different variables. The variables are the visa office, The variables are your background. The variables are the queue, the processing queue of the program analyst. From there on, the processing queue of the visa officer that gets assigned to you. And if there is any review required, then the processing queue of that particular visa officer. And if there is any action to be taken, then the processing queue of that particular program analyst. And because there are so many different individuals who may be handling your application at different points of time, the processing queue for each one of them could be variable, right? So if, for example, I have a processing queue of 10 applications, and one application that I'm working on right now is more complex than my colleague who has got 10 applications, but his queue, basically he's got more simpler or straightforward applications. I mean, we do not know, or rather as an immigration officer, they won't know until they get the application, then they start processing. So these are the variables which basically make the applications go faster or basically go slower from one person to another person. Also the visa offices, also, for example, you are assigned a visa officer who for some period of time may not be available, or maybe reassigned to a different task, to a different job, to a different duty, to a different office. So that backlog continues for that particular visa office. They cannot suddenly reassign to somebody else. It will happen towards the workload distribution. So that is one of the reasons why you do not see a sequence, especially after the art and completeness check. Is 453 enough for Ontario Tech Draw? Can't say. It looks difficult at this point of time. I'll be very, very honest with you. But it also depends how many invitations they choose to issue, how many notifications of interest they choose to issue. But I'll be honest, I think 453 is quite difficult at this point of time. But if it happens, that's excellent. That's great. Got the visa stamped yesterday. AOR December 2020 Outland. Thanks for all your advice. Please explain, is it possible to rent house before landing? Well, first of all, congratulations. And yes, of course, it is possible to rent your house before landing. There is no problem with that. Just be careful when you do that, because there is a lot of scam that is ongoing, especially on certain classified websites that exist in Canada. There is a lot of scam that goes on. So anything that you think is too good to be true, it probably is. If you have any friends or relatives in Canada, probably have them check the place out, have them, meet the landlord if possible and get that sorted out. If not, it is always a good idea to first basically do a short-term rental like an Airbnb or a hotel, if that's that's up your sleeve. And once you are in Canada, once you have settled in, once you know exactly where you want to rent for a longer duration of time, then you can opt for a long-term rental probably. But that is probably what you would do. What about Vancouver office? Do they process PR files? Yes, of course, Vancouver office processes PR files. Usually, applications which may have a spousal addition after AOR, so those also get transferred to Vancouver. But yes, of course, Vancouver processes PR files. Is there any quota cap on non-express entry stream of Ontario? If yes, then how much? I don't remember the numbers on top of my head. Ontario by itself has a quota. So last year it was about 8,250. For this year, their quota hasn't been announced. We don't know. I think it's going to be more, going by the way they have been issuing notifications of interest. It certainly looks like their quota for this year has been bumped up. I'm thinking it might be in the range of 9 to 10,000 probably. And their quota is for the entire province, for the entire stream. So all different programs, all of them would be included in the same total stream, total quota that Ontario has. In Ontario itself, they might then have separate quotas for individual streams, but that number is not made public, so we don't really know how much that is. Magnificent moments. Thank you for the super chat. We have received PPR. My son holds a US passport, is a US citizen. Do I need to send his passport for COPR stamping along with our Indian passports? Because your son is a US citizen and he doesn't need a Canadian visa to enter Canada. So all you will need to do is you will need to send a passport copy for your son along with your original passports. Because you're Indians, you need to send your Indian passports. But for your son, you will need to send his passport copy and 2 pictures, and that's about it. So they will just issue the COPR for your son, and then the son can travel with that. Okay. All right. Is the employer reference letter, is it okay to mention only the latest salary even though I got several pay rises? Yes, of course, it's absolutely fine. The reference letter can very easily say the last drawn salary is so and so, and that works fine. There is no problem with that. Shailendra, thank you for the super chat. However, I don't see any question there, so I'm sorry about that. If FSW draws are back, will the processing be under 6 months? Also, is 518 CRS a good score? Well, that is what IRCC is aiming at. They are looking to bring back the processing times to pre-pandemic level. If your application is processed, or rather, if you receive an ITA this year, IRCC has already said that applications, or other people who are receiving invitations this year, their applications will not be processed this year. Their applications will be processed only next year. So anybody who receives an ITA now, whenever you submit your application, the processing is expected. So basically, you're expected to receive your COPRs or your PR approvals towards the end of this year or towards the early part of next year. That is the expectation, because all these numbers for the invitations, the new ITAs that will be issued, all those people, their numbers will be counted against the quota for next year. For this year's quota, which is about 55,000 people in the FHS, Federal High Skilled category, those numbers are already counted for. They're already been accounted for because of the backlogs. We have, as of right now, we just showed those numbers. There are roughly 70,000 people already in the backlog pool. So those numbers will account for the quota for this year, which is 55,000. So anybody who's receiving an ITA now within this year, they will all be accounting for the next year. What is the POF required for two applicants? Should it be completely in primary applicant's account, or is it okay to be split in primary and secondary bank account? Well, two people require roughly 17,000. I forget the number. I'll just check. It is, what is it? The numbers, yes. For two people, it is 16,449. And let's see if we can find it. Yes, we can find it. All right, there it is on your screen. The number for two people is 16,449. I will always recommend you maintain $500 to $600 extra, because this number will change. This number is expected to change within a few weeks or a month's time, when the new proof of fund update will come for this year. The proof of fund is always 50% of the LICO, which is low income cutoff. And this gets updated every single year based on the cost of living in Canada at that point of time. And if your spouse is accompanying you, then you can have funds in the name of your spouse. You can have funds in the name of the primary applicant, or you could have split. There is no problem as long as the spouse is accompanying you. Make sure you add a letter of consent from the spouse, which states that the spouse does not have any objection to you, the primary applicant, having the access to the funds, and that's just about it. There is no problem with it. It has been a trend that people with past visa refusals get their PR application delayed. Can you please talk more on this? I don't think that is true. And if you're saying it is a trend, where is the data? I haven't seen any data which shows or proves something like that. So people make this out of their own imagination. So if there are two people who've had refusals and they are still waiting, they will say, oh, well, I have a refusal, you have a refusal. It's a trend. It is being held back. It's not true. There are also countless number of applications who have past refusals, and they still get their application processed. So yeah, I don't think that's true at all. And there is definitely no data. And if you have such data which shows a specific statistical trend to show that there is a connection between past visa refusal and the PR application, then please do feel free to share, and we will talk about it. Okay. Disclosing credit card is required when it is not from a bank but company like Amex. If there is an 5K outstanding on it, is it required? How can one do it? IRCC has a specific requirement, and let's see here. Let's see if I can find it. You have a specific requirement to disclose all your liabilities. I'm just trying to look for the exact requirement. Let me find it. Hold on. And the requirement is that you have to disclose. So it is your responsibility. You are the one who has to disclose your liabilities. They are not asking you to provide your from the bank itself, but you must. So if you have an Amex card, if you have an American Express card, then what I would suggest is that you can attach the most recent credit card statement. They are not looking to check where you're spending your money. What they're looking to see is what your outstanding is, and that how are you planning to pay for it. Okay. And yeah, I'm not able to find this at this point of time. Oh yeah, okay, I found it. Yeah, good, I found it. Hold on, let me share that with you so that you can see it. Okay, there you go. So this is what I have with me on the screen is applications for permanent residence program subject to the express entry completeness check and the documents that are required in your application. So this is this long list of all the different documents that are required. I am looking for the proof of funds, and this is where it is. For proof of funds, the purpose is to confirm whether the applicant meets the low income cutoff, which I just explained to you, assessed by the money they hold compared to the number of people in their families. Okay, the applicant should provide an official letter from one or more financial institution that lists all current bank and investment accounts as well as outstanding debts such as credit card debts and loans. So there you go. That is very clearly mentioned by IRCC on their website that you must provide, or rather you must disclose all your debt. Failure to disclose that debt is not a good thing, right? I mean, we're going to talk about the consequences as such. It is a requirement. You must provide it because they are trying to see if you actually do have the funds that you're saying. For example, you have $15,000 in your account, but you also have credit card debt of $5,000 or $8,000. Now, without you providing them a payment plan or without you explaining to them how do you plan to clear your debt, IRCC is going to calculate that as negative balance, which basically means they will remove the debt from your available balance to show that you don't have enough funds. Therefore, you must disclose all your debt, and along with the debt, also provide a payment plan as to how you intend to clear that debt without it affecting the proof of funds that you have. I hope that helps you understand that. Okay, Muhammad Mohsen, thank you. Do you think CEC files are not processed on purpose? Most of them are stuck in Edmonton office. When you come up with these questions, do you ever think why? I mean, do you think they are being sadistic? They are being sort of they're finding it pleasure, or they enjoy doing this to you? Why? Why would anybody do that to you, right? Because at the end of the day, they still need to meet targets. They do need to meet their quotas. And mind you, each visa office also has their processing targets. So each visa officer, they also have their KPIs. They also have accountability. They also have to report how many applications did I process? How many decisions did I render today? They are all being held accountable. They're all being, checked for what kind of work they're doing. It's not like today I'm going to just sit with my feet on the table and not have to do anything. So when you say the CEC files are not being processed, this is actually not true. But anybody can sort of, just because your application is being delayed doesn't mean your application is not being processed or CEC. If that was the case, then they would have never gotten clear. They would never clear all the backlog, right? I just shared some documents earlier, and let's see if I can find it again. Okay, this is what I've got it. Now, let me remove this. Canadian experience class, as of March 15, you have 10,388. As of February 1st, it was 15,139. So they've actually cleared 4,751 applications, people, 4,751 people who are Canadian experience class. Why do you think they would have cleared those files? I mean, if you're saying that they are not clearing them on purpose, right? So these kind of statements don't help, right? I mean, they don't help you because you are obviously anxious and frustrated with the whole delay. And at the same time, they don't give a good narrative because everybody then starts buying into it because they're also equally frustrated. Yes, the whole backlog is there. And yes, IRCC could have definitely done a much better job than what they did. And nobody can sort of, defend them on that. But it is what it is. And thankfully, they are now moving forward. They only now have 10,000 people in the backlog in Canadian experience class files. And going with the speed, they should be done with all of them within 2 to 2.5 months max. That's what the numbers are saying, not me. Okay, so there you go. Okay. How would we know if IRCC has granted an extensions for an ADR if we are not able to submit it within 30 days? Well, you won't know directly. What would happen is that if you have requested for an extension, and when you request for an extension for an ADR, never ever do it through the web form because it takes time. Always do it through the placeholder in your portal. So for example, you were asked for a police clearance and you know you cannot get a police clearance in time because it's taking time. So in the placeholder that has been created in your application, where it asks you to upload the PCC, upload a letter of explanation with the proof that you have applied for the PCC, but you cannot get it on time because it is taking that much time, and request for extension of time, and that when you receive the police clearance, you will upload it using the web form. At that point of time, use the web form and upload it. And if at all they extend the timeline or create another placeholder in your account because they have extended it, then also upload the police clearance through that placeholder in your account. Okay. Is 461 or 470 better for Ontario Tech Draw? Well, I mean, obviously 470, right? I mean, they are no longer holding the draws till 467. They have now gone ahead and removed the top limit. Even the last draw that they held with the federal skilled trade categories, the upper limit was 600. So they are definitely not sticking to 467 anymore. So the more your score is, the higher your score is, the better the chances for you to get through. Okay, Shailendra, thank you for the super chat. For Ontario, would my application in international student stream affect my chances in the tech draw? If you have already submitted an application, no, it should not, because if your application is an international student stream, means you have created an expression of interest. But at the same time, if you also have an express entry profile, the chances are that when the tech draw happens, you might still receive an ITA, you might still receive a notification of interest. At the time of submitting your application, there may be a question where they will ask you, have you submitted an application to Ontario before? And they may require you to withdraw one of the applications, because mind you, you're also paying double the fee, right? You're paying for the international student stream, and then you will be paying again for the tech draw stream as well. So I actually haven't seen this happening with anybody, but I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be, because the way the system has been created, the pool are different. Expression of interest pool is different, which is where you will create your expression of interest for your international student stream. The tech draw, where the human capital priorities notification of interest happens, it's a different process or system by itself. So I don't see any issue in you getting an ITA, notification of interest if and when they do the tech draw. Got RFV email but no PDF or PPA letter. Printing out email of RFV is enough to submit passports? Yes, receiving an RFV is fine. You will not receive anything in your portal. Just take a PDF print of your RFV, and that's absolutely fine. Manpreet Singh, thank you for the super chat. Unfortunately, there is no question there. Can we have your view on the LMIA-based closed work permit processing delays, when we can expect results? Well, they have had, and again, let me bring this up. Yeah, so you see, they have had, serious work permit backlog. Work permit applications as of 17th of March were 100,000 in the pipeline. And on 1st of Feb, there were 85,000. So the numbers have gone up. So they now have even more. There's an increased backlog in the work permit applications. Now, when the work permit applications I'm talking about are all collectively. So spouse open work permits, closed work permits, open work permits, all of them in combination, they have a backlog of nearly 100,000 applications at this point of time. Why it has happened, I can't give you that answer because I don't really know. Why it happened, from my understanding, is that at the time when the pandemic was hit in 2021, they were looking to process inside Canada applications to achieve their annual quota. So they had redirected a lot of people from different sections who were otherwise handling TRVs, visit visa, study permits, work permit applications. They had moved them into handling the PR applications. That's what created the backlogs in the first place. And now when they're being reassigned, they have such a mountain of tasks that it is taking time for them to clear through. Let's just say that they have not considered that as a priority. However, when Sean Fraser was asked about the $85 million infusion about the which was earmarked to process the backlogs. He indicated that a portion of it is being used to clear the TRVs, the spousal sponsorship applications, and the work permits. So that's where I'm hoping a lot of money is going to go, and probably it will make some dent there. Hopefully. Okay, what should I submit in GCK if I'm unable to obtain PCC with the deadline? Already raised web form explaining the reason for delay. In your GCK, you should upload a letter of explanation, attached proof of having applied for PCC, and request for extension. Okay. My spouse open work permit application review started a month ago, but no further progress. Is it a good option to apply for a visitor visa now? When you can apply for a visitor visa, however, it's not an easy option in. It's not like just because you have an open work permit, let me apply for a visit visa. For a visit visa, you have to sort of look at the criteria. So if your spouse has a good travel history, if your spouse has good financial record, if your spouse has a stable job where they have been working for some period of time, or they have other ties to home country in terms of finances, family, real estate, property, ongoing business engagements, ongoing some other engagements which you can show as compelling reasons, then probably go for the visit visa. Otherwise, it's best to wait for your spouse open work permit to get through. Okay, last few questions before we move on. I showed proof of fund of about 15,500 in 2019. Then the rupee was stronger. Now that the value of rupee is becoming weak, what does it mean? My funds become inadequate. Also, I have not received re-medical request. Is this bad? Well, not having received re-medical request, that is not bad. That just basically means that your application has not come up in the processing queue for somebody to send you the re-medical request, if at all it is needed in your application in the first place. That's one. As far as your funds are concerned, well, if your funds are deemed to be inadequate, then you will be asked to provide updated funds, and that's absolutely fine. But in both the cases, I don't think there is anything to worry about. If and when you are asked for updated funds, make sure you do have sufficient funds to cover up as far as today's exchange rate is concerned. And no, there is absolutely nothing to be concerned as far as your re-medical request is concerned. Okay. All right, last few questions and then we're gone. Okay, which provinces have direct PR application acceptance when studying there? There is no province where you have direct PR application acceptance. No province gives you that. Okay. You always have to be eligible under the specific criteria from the province. You have to first apply for the provincial nomination. If you get the provincial nomination, then you have to apply for the federal permanent residence application after you comply with the criteria for the PR application as well. So there is no direct PR application or PR acceptance for sure. If anybody is telling you that, then they are basically fibbing you, but there is no such thing. You said NDVO is back on its feet. Yes, I said NDVO is back. I mean, they are back in full force. From what we know, all the staff are back in the office. We haven't seen many PPRs, any news there. No, I haven't got any updated news, and we haven't seen any PPRs. Actually, we are seeing PPRs, not in express entry or immigration applications, but we are seeing PPRs in several other aspects. We are seeing spousal sponsorship application PPRs. We are seeing a lot of spouse open work permit PPRs coming through. We are seeing expedited now visit visa applications coming through. So, it's not like everybody is going to work only on the PR applications for express entry, but we are definitely seeing PPRs. May not be in what you're expecting or anticipating, but definitely in other aspects for sure. Bharat, thank you for the super chat. In my Schedule A, I mentioned work from home next to my base office location, as I mostly work from home address. I explained the same, but not any address of base location. Any issue? No, it is not an issue as long as you've explained what you were doing. So the idea is, in your address history, you must mention your physical addresses wherever you are living at that point of time. And if you are working from home, then that's absolutely fine. Your employer could be in a different city, even in a different country. What you need to mention is where you physically were present at that point of time, because that is what will determine the requirement of any police clearances that might be applicable to you in your application. So as long as you explained that, as long as you mentioned you're working from home, you're absolutely fine. There is no problem with that. Okay. Last question before we go. I'm applying for AIP to Canada through an agent. Is it open now? My age is 45. Is it okay? First of all, when you're applying through an agent, please make sure that this agent is not a agent namesake agent, because most of them will cheat you, will scam you, will misguide you. So make sure you're dealing with the right person, first of all. And if at all, and you're applying through AIP, which basically I'm assuming you have got a job offer. How did you get the job offer? Are you buying a job offer? Is that what I'm supposed to sort of, I mean, you're doing it through an agent. So did an agent sort of try to sell you the job offer? So please, again, be very careful. There is a lot of scam happening there. That's number one. Age is not a problem. Okay, what is the problem is the criteria and the requirement. It's definitely open now. It opened in the month of March. It was closed until the 5th of March, and then it has reopened now as AIP, Atlantic Immigration Program. So yeah, there is no problem with the age. Just make sure you don't get taken for a ride. There are plenty of stories where it has not turned out very well. Okay. Right. Once again, if you are not following us on Instagram, then please do. That is the link. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Please hit on the subscribe button. Let's see those numbers going up. And if you're here still, then also hit the like button so more people can get access to this video. And if you want to book an appointment with me to discuss your application one-on-one, then this is the link. Feel free, hit on this link, and then we can talk about your application, your information in detail to see what we can do for you. That's just about it. If you're in Dubai, I will see you tomorrow. And for everybody else, please stay safe, take care, and we will see you soon next time. Thank you so much.